Hello and welcome to SweetSpotDFS. This is a preview for the 2020 Players Championship, the 5th major. Now, it's not the 5th major, I know, but it is the 2nd best field in golf for the PGA season. Only 2nd to the PGA Championship. I know some of you guys are like, well, what about the WGC events? Well, those events are limited fields. There's no cut, and there are some special exemptions that certain players get into. So it's not technically the top 50. But again, it's how many golfers are there? That's a limited field. Well, what about the Open Championships, both the British and the US Open? Well, you know, at least like 20% of the golfers qualify to get in. You could be playing your best golf to qualify and then just, you know, not play your best during the actual US Open. It's just not your top golfers in the US Open. There's enough golfers that make up that tail end that just bring the strength of field down. And the Masters is so limited. You still have people in their 70s playing at this tournament. So it really is some of the best golfers in the world, plus the best golf course to try to determine who one of the best golfers in the world is. And you hear that from past PGA pros. You hear it from current PGA pros. This is their tournament. So to call it the 5th major, maybe it's a deserving moniker, honestly. Like, I don't have an issue with it. Again, it's not a major, so I don't care. I don't care how you guys take it. It's a great tournament, nonetheless. If you guys haven't been here before, I go over the following items in these preview videos. I like to talk about course information, course history, recent form, a 2019 DK review. So I'll review last year's DK page, which is just a comprehensive spreadsheet that has a bunch of stats on it. We'll determine, you know, what is successful at this tournament, at least for last year. And then we'll go over the 2020 grass stats, the 2020 swing stats for the field, you know, the golfers in this field. We can go ahead right away and just talk about the course information because there's a lot to talk about. It's TPC Sawgrass. That is obviously not surprising. At Ponte Vedra Beach, again, not surprising. It's a par 72, 7,200 yards. That's pretty short. It's a pretty short par 72 for PGA standards, but this is a very tight golf course. It does require a lot of strategy, a lot of accuracy. So the 7,200 yards, I mean, I don't know what you could like convert it to, but it's a difficult golf course, put it that way. It's not about yardage at this golf course. But I heard something interesting that I want to bring up. A past PGA pro had said it is much more beneficial to have a right to left shot shape at this golf course. 3 of the par 5s require it, whether it's on the drive, like on the tee box, or on your approach shot, and then hole 18. Because when it comes down to the end of the tournament, hitting a fade off of that tee box, you will have to start the ball over the water and try to get it to land on the left third of the fairway in order to hold the fairway. And you do want to hit the fairway at this golf course. So and if you don't, let's say you do start it left of, you know, you start it at the water. If it doesn't come back, you have to re-tee right there at the tee box. You can go ahead and drop it a few yards in front of you without a tee, or you can just put down a peg again and put your ball on the tee and hit it from there. So really, when it comes down to it, you do want that right to left shot shape. It's not totally necessary, but if you want to take advantage of the par 5s, and then being comfortable on the 18th tee box, you definitely want those shot shapes. The grass type is bent and POA. Now, you're going to hear a lot of people in the industry talk about this being Bermuda grass. Now, the base layer is Bermuda, but it's not Bermuda. It's not warm enough to grow Bermuda. It's not in full bloom. It might be warm enough to sustain whatever's there, but it probably just came out of dormancy. So it's just going to be very non-existent. Definitely more bent and POA. And if you go to the GSCAA, the Golf Course Superintendent Association of America. No. The Golf course superintendent. Yeah, Association of America. Okay, I'm sorry. You go there, you look at the tournament fact sheet. It's going to show you that the overseed is the prominent grass. That is the tournament grass, and that is Benton Poa, and especially on the greens. So that's where these golfers are intimate on the golf course. The ball is rolling on this. Doesn't matter really out of the fairway. Rough does matter depending on what grass it is and how thick it is. But really, I don't really care so much about the grass prior to the green. On the green is where it matters. That's where, knowing how to read those types of grass types is beneficial. However, this is a Pete Dye golf course, and it's the Pete Dye golf course. The thing that I've been hearing a lot of, and it's not untrue, but it's not like the main reason why Pete Dye golf courses are difficult. So a lot of people are talking about sight lines off the tee box. That's not the primary. That's not what makes Pete Dye golf courses difficult. What makes Pete Dye golf courses difficult are on the greens. That's where your optical illusions happen. I worked at a Pete Dye golf course in California. The Weston Mission Hills, Pete Dye. Look it up. I've worked there. Playing that, I remember hole 2. Hole 2 is just an easy straightaway hole. It's not difficult to hit the green. Many times I'd have 100 yards in. So a little wedge shot, get it to the green, maybe have 15 feet for a putt. But that 15 feet, you might, when you look at it, so what Pete Dye does is he will put almost layers on the green. Where something will come in this way and then something will come in this way right after it. It's really difficult. So a putt that I remember on that hole is if you're short of it, if you're on the front half of the green and you're putting towards the middle or towards the backside, it looks like it's going to snake. And you're going to read the first putt to break a little left, the first part of the putt to break a little left, and then come back right. The first time I played it, that's exactly what I read it as. And I hit that putt. It just kept going to the right. And so I was kind of dumbfounded. I totally see a break here that right away it's going to break left. But over time, you start realizing why you think it breaks left. And you don't really have to know why. You don't really have to pick up on those things. But obviously, golfers who've golfed a lot of Pete Dye golf courses over and over, you're going to see their success rates. They're probably figuring it out. Because you could just play that course one time, write in your notes, it doesn't break left. And then you hit your putt on the left side of the hole and it just breaks right into, towards the hole. But having that knowledge matters because that's what it is with Pete Dye golf courses. When you're on the greens, you just don't see, if you just read it from behind and you don't really get a full scope of what's going on and see the little subtleties in the greens, you're going to get confused. You're going to get tricked by Pete Dye. So that's what really Pete Dye golf courses. It's mostly on the greens. They're just false information when you're trying to read the greens, and that's the information you need to know. So again, not untrue when people talk about the sight lines because Pete Dye will set up a tee box pointing straight right into the woods, and the fairway goes straight left. So when you're setting up, you put your ball down, most of these golfers are only looking 4 feet in front of them. They have a little speck of something, either a broken tee, a couple blades of grass that they're looking down at when they're setting up their alignment towards, their target. So between the ball and their target, they're finding something on the ground and they're just looking at that. You can find that out with Tiger Woods. Watch when he sets up. He's looking straight down and he won't look up. He's trying to stay in alignment, looking at the corner of his eyes, finding that target and making sure that that's where he is aligned to. Now, if you're doing that and somehow you forget where you're at, you might look at the mower lines. The mower lines are pointing straight down into the woods, basically. And that's an exaggeration, but it's going to be off of where your target is. So that's another, again, that can confuse players, but most of the time, not really, honestly. Because you see your target in the distance. You see, you're behind the ball. You walk into the ball. You set up. You do your routine. You know where your target is. So Again, it's mostly on the greens. And that's why we got to look at Pete Dye stats for this tournament. You just have to. Because golfers who do play Pete Dye well over and over again, those are the guys you can trust. Yeah, we'll get into the spreadsheet and we'll get into all that good stuff. But that's it. I know that usually like we're on to like course history by now, but it is important to talk about Pete Dye. And again, we want draw golfers or right to left shot shaping golfers primarily. And I'll show you another thing. Okay, let's go into the spreadsheet and look at the results and focus on golfers that hit a draw. Rory McIlroy. Now, this is just off of my general knowledge. I watch a lot of golf. I know I also give lessons, was once an instructor. Now I work in the tech world, basically. So I still have a lot of golf information inside my head, and I still would give lessons if people, wanted to take them. But again, I use my knowledge, just what's inside my head, and go with what I know. So Rory McIlroy, he hits a draw. Jim Furyk hits a draw. Tommy Fleetwood hits a draw. Brandt Snedeker hits a draw. Jason Day hits a draw. Brian Harman hits a draw, but he's a lefty, so it's a left to right shot shape. And I think Justin Rose, he can hit just about anything, but his ball flight's primarily straight. I'm just gonna leave that alone. The rest of the guys there, they hit fades. Webb Simpson hits a draw. Jimmy Walker hits a draw. Jason Day hits a draw. Fleetwood again hits a draw. Now, I'm not highlighting all of these golfers. I don't know what Charles Schwartzel does. I didn't know what he did in 2018, so I don't remember. I know Xander hits a fade. I think Duffner hits a fade, and I believe Keegan Bradley hits a fade. So I'm just leaving those alone. Louis Oosthuizen hits a draw. And that's probably going to be the only golfer that I know, because I really Poulter hits a fade. I don't know what Stanley. I think Glover hits a draw. But yeah, I can't remember what like Rafa does or Stanley, or I think Francesco hits a fade primarily. Brendan Steele hits a draw. Jason Day hits a draw. And really nobody else here hits a draw. But I mean, Jason Day is your winner. Ricky Fowler hits a draw, or did. Kevin Kisner hits a draw. There's Rory again, but Palmer at this time in 2013 hit a draw. I can't remember what some of these other guys did. Woods could shape it in any direction, but he primarily hit a fade. Keimer hit a fade. Jim Furyk hits a draw. Again, Rose can hit it wherever. Spieth hits a draw. There's Walker again. So, yeah, so 2013, maybe not a lot of information on hitting draws, nor is 2016, but your winner hits a draw. I really don't know what Colt Knost hits, or Ken Duke. Actually, I think Kevin Chappell hits a draw as well. That's a pure guess from memory. I'm pretty sure he does, but I'm not positive. But yeah, hitting a draw, just even by results, tends to do pretty well. You've got 4 winners out of the last 7 years that primarily hit a draw golf, right to left shot shape. Okay, let's go ahead and look at the course history. So, oh boy. Okay, good. I was gonna say, I know I changed some of these stats, and I'm wondering what it was. So you probably saw what I had done. I'm making sure I didn't mess anything else up. Okay. As we look at course history, I tend to just avoid looking at golfers who only have one event under their belt. And I more or less want to find golfers that have a long stretch of history that we can rely on. So Adam Scott has, arguably the best course history at this tournament. The only downside is Adam Scott is $9,600. If I were to choose between Adam Scott and, say, Hideki Matsuyama, so yeah, sure, they're 8 points different, but I could take out their highest score each. And now Matsuyama is looking better than Adam Scott. And then when we look at the price for Hideki Matsuyama, he's a full $800 less than Adam Scott. I would rather play Hideki Matsuyama over Adam Scott. I know Scott has won earlier this year, but I'm just not feeling it. I will play some lineups with him in it. Don't get me wrong, but he is not an anchor. He's not a core play of mine. We'll have very low exposure to him. And you see Rory here as well. Now, obviously, if we take the miscut from Rory, he actually has the best course history out of everyone here, including the golfers who've only played here once. So yeah, Rory definitely a strong golfer to, you know, I guess to piggyback on again, because he has what, 5 straight top 5s coming into this tournament. He definitely has the best recent form coming into this tournament. I just don't know if that golf course, you know, how much it took out of him, you know, or any of the golfers that played last week, because that was difficult. I didn't really talk about the bent or POA mix, other than it's mainly bent and POA. The greens should grab with bent and POA grass. You can't really make them as firm as you can with Bermuda. I would say, especially during this time of the year, because it's not warm enough to really dry out bent grass, and you need a lot of moisture on bent grass in order to keep it, you know, sustained. Because bent grass will turn for the worse much faster than Bermuda grass. Like, Bermuda is much more resilient than, say, bent grass. POA is pretty good. POA is pretty resilient, but I think this is more bent than it is anything. And really, the stats from 2019 would bear out that bent grass was better anyways. So definitely keep that in mind. That's what I'm thinking of. But yeah, you can look at the rest of these guys. Go ahead, pause, screenshot, whatever. See what some of these golfers are. Some notable guys down here, Dustin Johnson. Some people are on him. I guess if we take away his withdraw, 31.67, still not really doing it for me. His best finish was last year, and this is going back to 2013. I thought he won this at one time. Perhaps not. Maybe he was in the lead here in 2019 and then gagged it away. I'm not sure. Kuchar is a Pete Dye specialist, but you have 1/3 here. And a 17th isn't going to do it, honestly. It's not going to do it for me. And I think he's $7,800. That's not bad, but it's just not good enough. I don't think he has the upside to finish top 10. Now watch, I'll be wrong, and that's fine. I'll have some exposure to him, but it's just, no, he's not a core play of mine. Siwoo Kim, I don't care. He has 1 win. He can do that, obviously. He's boom or bust, but I'm not touching him. Webb Simpson, let's get rid of that. 22.8. Still, that's pretty good. He's a draw type of golfer, right to left. He likes this golf course. Again, it's not Bermuda, but he does do well on bent grass, so definitely a consideration for me. Jason Day, I'm not touching Jason Day. That back issue, you know, I guess you get rid of that. He becomes like the 3rd best golfer in the field. His missed cut in 2015. I can't. It's too much. That's too difficult. Now, Jason Day did this last year, though. He did withdraw at the API last year, so he came in with an 8th. Is that good enough? What's his price? Jason Day. 8,400? Yeah. I guess it's good enough, man. Again, he did this last year. He withdrew because of a back issue, I think. Let me go to the notes page. Jason Day withdrew from API due to a bad back. Yeah. So he did this last year. Play him at your own risk. I just can't do it. Not going to touch it. Okay. So we went through course history. Let's go ahead and look at the recent form. We're not going to touch the 2020 recent form yet. I have to admit, I really haven't looked at each year for recent form, but we can go through this together. All I would say is just take a look at this column. This is your recent form average. Will always be inside this little box here, and you can also look at the course history as it relates to each year and pair them up. So go ahead anytime during this, take a screenshot or pause it, take a screenshot, have that information for yourself. But it looks like, sure, you can have some poor recent form coming into this, you know, Eddie Pepperell and Brandt Snedeker both finished 50th, came in and finished top 5. And as well as sporting not so great recent form. But you do have 4 golfers really that have good recent form coming into this tournament that finished well. And that was 2019. Go through 2018. It's a little bit of the same. So again, pause it, screenshot. Not going to really talk much about it. 2017 is a little different. We have 1 more golfer than usual that has pretty poor recent form. And really no rhyme or reason. Like the course history to go with this recent form looked pretty bad. So perhaps we look at some golfers that might have poor recent form that played the week before. Although Siwoo Kim didn't. He just kind of came out of nowhere. Is that the same for the 2018? So poor recent form playing the week before? Sure. It does correlate a little bit. Another thing I guess to bring up right now is 2019, it moved from May to March. So that obviously means a different tournament preceded it. As you can see, it was the API in 2019. 2018, it was the Wells. Okay, well, my video just cut out. My screen recorder definitely cut out. So let me pick up where I was talking. 2019 was the API that preceded this tournament. 2018 was the Wells Fargo Championship. So as we continue going through the spreadsheets, go ahead and just take a look at what tournament precedes it. And then just kind of like double check what you see or what we were just talking about with, poor recent form and playing the week before. And you can see which golf course that was. It looks like it didn't matter here, but Ken Duke, he was an old golfer at that time. I mean, he's an old golfer now, but at that time he was like around 50 years old. He probably had some decent Players Championship history, but I don't know. I don't know that for sure. But I definitely would be more comfortable having golfers with poor recent form and who played the week before. So definitely keep that in mind. 2015. Yeah, now we're kind of getting into some. Okay, now we have the World Match Play, the WGC Match Play right before. Now it kind of becomes a little difficult because I don't know how to determine what kind of impact this has. As you can see, a lot of these people that are 17 in this dark red, that means they didn't get past the first round. I know you guys don't know that just by looking at it, but I do, so that's what I'm saying. You do have a winner here in Rory that finished 8th, but this is a difficult one to look at. This score does not take into account the match play. It's definitely everything over on this side of the match play. But it is the week prior, so that's the difficult part about all of it. But in 2014, it was the Wells Fargo Championship once again, and we actually had better recent form. So I would say if we're looking at recent form, we want to find decent to good recent form. And if we do want to sprinkle in some golfers that have poor recent form, let's find ones that golfed the week before. And it doesn't have to be good results the week before. It actually looks like it's pretty poor results as we look at everyone that did play the week before that has bad recent form. A missed cut. That one did not play. 2017, 24-52 did not play, but the week prior to that they did. And I guess that kind of goes the same with Ken Duke, had played in the Zurich. So if they don't play the week before with poor recent form, let's look at golfers that played the week before that one, so 2 weeks prior. Poor recent form in a missed cut. Poor recent form in a 55th finish. In 2019, poor recent form in a 50th. Poor recent form in the 57th. I know that's weird to think about and to look at, but perhaps, we do want to find golfers. Just sprinkle them in. I mean, that's the variance you're looking for. So I don't think it's a bad idea to actually target those types of golfers. So I guess we can look at the 2020 recent form and kind of go over that and just really try to find those golfers. I did not put a filter on this already, so let me do that really quick. And then I am just a stickler on basically making this look good, so don't mind me. So if we were to go and sort by recent form, what golfers down here that have poor recent form? So how many do we actually have? We have from Matthew Wolff. I wouldn't really go through Roger Sloan. Now, sure. So we have 41 golfers with poor recent form. Of those golfers, I've got counts. Of those golfers, 26 of them have played the week before. And then, of course, we do have some golfers that played even prior to that, or the week before that. So you really could choose any of these golfers. I might, go with someone that might be like a Matthew Wolff or a Cam Champ. Somebody that has pretty good, decent upside. I do like Zach Johnson quite a bit. I suppose we could probably look from that 30 to 50 range. So Graham McDowell, Scott Brown, maybe Rory Sabatini. He has some pretty good course history. And that's it. Everyone has a missed cut. So maybe those are 4 golfers we look at. That's not bad. Or even 5 golfers we look at. There's Matthew Wolff, 52nd. Matthew Wolff might be a good play here, man. I can't remember if he hits a draw or if he hits a fade. I think he hits a fade. I know Cam Champ, he hits a fade. Zach Johnson hits a draw. Graham McDowell hits a fade. I don't know what Sabatini does, and I don't know what Scott Brown does, but those might be things that we look at, honestly. So either way, everyone else has pretty decent recent form. I'm not going to talk about everyone else. Let's go ahead and get into the 2019 DK page. This might take a little bit of time because this is where the meat of basically trying to put an analysis on this to find the stats we want to look at. So right away, what I want to tell you guys, if this information from top to bottom, so this is sorted by result. If this stuff matters to you, go ahead and pause the video, take a screenshot, because I'm going to hide some of these columns just right off the gate. So yeah, I'm not going to talk about any of this. I'm not going to talk about salaries. Actually, let me talk about salaries. Last week, last year, recent form, course history, value, that stuff, we're going to hide it so we can bring in the rest of the stats. I'm actually going to hide the bucket scores because we're not going to go over that in this video. There we go. Now we have all the stats up. Perfect. This is what I want. Let's go ahead and look at Pete Dye. From top to, so again, your top 20 here, you can see your top guys. You see one dark red. And Eddie Pepperell probably only played 1 or 2 events that were Pete Dye. So that's kind of misleading, but the rest of these you see yellow and orange. That means pretty good to decent Pete Dye history. If I were to sort from top to bottom, Adam Long hadn't golfed that many Pete Dye golf courses. Sung J.M. hadn't either. Neither had Alex Noren. Patrick Cantlay, I think, has 12 events under his belt now, which means I think 3 came after the Players' Championship. So he was probably at like 8 or 9 events. But yeah, you see quite a bit of green. So we have 6, 7, 8. You have 8 golfers who finished inside the top 20 that actually have established Pete Dye stats. Again, yes. So Adam Long won the American Express. And there is one golf course, PGA West, that is a Pete Dye golf course out of the 3-course rotation. They only play it twice. So technically he does have Pete Dye, course history, but it's not for 4 events or 4 rounds of golf. And I'm sure that's where Sung Jae played and where Alex Noren played, probably where Patrick Cantlay played last year as well. But either way, I'm not going to take that away from Patrick Cantlay. Again, he probably had 9 events coming into this tournament or 8 events under his belt. So definitely enough to pay attention to that kind of thing. But yeah, I definitely wouldn't look at this. But of the guys that actually have established, so if I were to go down to like top 20, there we go, there's 20. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Just 8 golfers that finished top 20. But then we have 1, 2, 3, 4 golfers that missed the cut. So definitely many more golfers who obviously did better than missing the cut in top 20 Pete Dye stats. And again, established Pete Dye stats. Not like 1, 2, or 3 events under their belt, whether that's anywhere between 1 round of golf to 12 rounds of golf. I want more than 12 rounds of golf. So if that's what you're looking at for stats, do it that way. You might find some other golfers that have better stats, but that have lower rounds than that under their belt for Pete Dye that will do well at this tournament, and that's totally fine. Go with your instinct, but I'm not gonna do it that way. So yeah, Pete Dye, definitely something I'm looking at. And then I went with Bentgrass, primarily because when you look at this, kind of shows you Bentgrass matters. So this again is sorted from best to worst for Bentgrass. Right away, you see 5 golfers inside the top 12. Now, those are hefty salary tags. You can't play all of them, obviously. You really can't make a lineup with any of these like maybe 4 at the most. If you were to include Brandt Snedeker and then 3 of the low price guys here, maybe you can get 4. You know, you could go with Fleetwood, Matsuyama, Day, and Rahm. That would definitely get you in there, but you wouldn't get the winner, obviously. So yeah, this is pretty good going with Bent, but then Jordan Spieth missed the cut, Henrik Stenson missed the cut, Paul Casey, Bo Hosler, Phil Mickelson. So there's 5 golfers that missed the cut, and this is your top 20 for Bentgrass stats. There are far more top 20 finishes than there are missed cuts. If I scroll down, you still have more top 20 finishes. Of course, you have more missed cuts as well. So those kind of wash each other out, but we're still ahead on top 20 finishes, and we get another one, Jim Furyk, a couple 26 places. I think Bentgrass matters, honestly. In my opinion, it does. If we look at the percentage that these golfers finish inside the top 10 at Bentgrass golf courses in 2019, look at how many golfers finish inside the top 20. Again, this light green is my top 20 stat. This is first to 20. We have 9 golfers compared to 4 missed cuts. Sure, we got some golfers in here that, you know, don't have favorable finishes, but they made the cut at least, you know? Yeah, Bentgrass. For overall Bentgrass, I like. 2019, like that season, we would have had 4 events under our belt for Bentgrass. I don't think it was really that much. It was that telling. So now we'll get into the swing stats. And tee to green, first one. Now, these columns here, I just want to give you this information now so you're not totally confused by it. This is tee to green, or I should say, these are the rankings, the PGA ranks coming into the tournament. This isn't the rank for them in the field. I have this right now sorted by top to bottom. You do see just about every golfer here, but you can see you're missing the 14th ranked tee to green golfer there. So that should be a tell for you that this isn't all of the golfers. What I actually should say, yeah, this isn't the strength, the ranking in the field. This is the PGA rank coming into this tournament. So these are stats coming into the tournament from the beginning of the season till now. So that's all of my stats do that. They go from the beginning of the season until that tournament. Whatever the PGA website gives me, that's what I use. So hopefully that cleared things up. I know that was kind of difficult for me to get to, but either way, here we go. Top tee to green. So this is sorted from top to bottom, worst to best. It looks like tee to green, it's favorable. You know, your top 6 golfers for tee to green did not miss the cut, but then Patrick Cantlay did. And in fact, we have what? 6 missed cuts. I can see a 6th guy down here. So you have 6 top 20 finishes, 6 missed cuts, the rest of the other golfers in between. So not really a huge tell when it comes to this. I could scroll down a little bit further and make my stats just a little bit better. So I'll do your top 34, which we did last week, and it actually worked out. If you look at your top 34, try to create a core from the top 34 tee to green golfers. I think that's probably pretty viable, especially when you mix in Bentgrass and Pete Dye. I think it's very viable. Off the tee, look at off the tee. Off the tee is pretty crazy. So just really good numbers at the top. You don't see a lot of missed cuts. It's hard to use like a withdraw as a stat because who knows what the heck was going on. But we have 7 golfers that finished inside the top 20 compared to 5 golfers who missed the cut. Of course, a 6 golfer withdrew, but if I were to come down a little bit, the numbers get a little bit worse. So that's kind of, that might be a little bit of a misnomer. So if I use kind of that top 33, it doesn't really add any more into it. It adds more missed cuts than it does top 20s. So off the tee is something to look at. I don't think it's really, I would definitely do tee to green over that. Looking at approach, I'll scroll down to the top 34. So that's 36. This is 35. So you got Ryan Moore. I'm just going to let you guys eyeball this. Like, there's quite a bit of missed cuts to go with some top 20s and a first and a second. Excuse me. So approach, maybe not the strongest stat to look at. Around the green. Here, let's go from up there to there. So that's your top 29. So let's go from like rows up. Sure, we see quite a few top 20s, but it's definitely not a stat you should really rely on for this tournament. I'm going to get rid of that out. Putting, not a stat to really focus on. There's not very good results. Proximity, again, not really a stat you want to look at. I mean, you guys can do your own assessment on that. Green and reg percentage, not really one you want to look at. Birdie or better. We had a bunch of missed cuts there, so I'm not sure how I'd feel about that. I mean, you got your first place guy, but you're not rounding those lineups with these guys here. Yeah, birdie or better was definitely not one. And those are really the only stats that I was keeping track of in 2019, so I just unfortunately don't have everything I want to be looking at. Let's go ahead and get into the 2020 DK page. So I mean, if you guys are usually with me on 2020 or all of my like lineup construction videos or review, you know the spreadsheet's a little bit more full. I'm hiding some information because I don't have these pieces of information yet. So odds, tee time, starting hole, definitely don't have that information. Of course, we're not talking about the buckets right now. That'll be reserved for the lineup construction page. But I'm not going to be interested in looking at any of this information. I guess we can keep the world golf rankings up. Yeah. So I'll hide that. Now we're going to get into Pete Dye stuff. So as you can see, I added how many events that these golfers have played in as for Pete Dye events, and their overall average for Pete Dye golf courses. And just like the other grass stats, I put the amount of times that they finished inside the top 10 as a percentage. And then I also did that with bent grass. So let's go ahead and just look at top to bottom your best overall Pete Dye golf course or golf guys. You can see there's not a lot of events for some of these guys up at the top, but there's definitely enough. So like I said, now the events are how many tournaments, and each of those tournaments can go from anywhere from 2 rounds of golf to 4 rounds of golf per tournament. So obviously Rory could be playing, that could be 44 rounds worth of Pete Dye, history and experience. But it is 11 events of history. And his average finishing position is 22.09. Definitely the best in the field. If you're looking for a value play, you got Matt Kuchar at 7,800. Maybe Paul Casey at 82. I kind of like that. He hits a draw. I think he missed the cut last year, but still pretty decent. And you just got a lot of like DraftKings is not messing around. They know who the good Pete Dye golfers are. Scotty Scheffler only has 1 event under his belt, and I bet you that was the American Express earlier this year. Yeah, probably, because I don't have the 2020 Pete Dye stats. So anyways, yeah, go ahead, take a screenshot. Look at this stuff. I'm going to go ahead and get to the next one. So we have some golfers that don't have Pete Dye event, any history here. Here are your rookies for Pete Dye golf courses. I think Shugo is actually out. At least that's what it said on DraftKings, but I didn't see any news saying he withdrew. So I've kept him in here. I'll remove him if he does. But Christian Bezuidenhout. I've been saying it right the entire time. I don't know why. Just one of those things. I'm pretty good with names. Victor Perez, Eric Van Rooyen. I'm not sure about Van Rooyen because it's a Pete Dye golf course, basically. And his bent grass stats don't look that great, so it's hard to trust that. Yeah, if we scroll down to the 100%, that would be Scotty Scheffler, one event. Remember that, guys, one event, third place, 100%. I wouldn't put a lot of merit into that, but I do like Scotty Scheffler. He is a great player, and his skill set is good on just about any track. But Tommy Fleetwood hits a draw. Patrick Cantlay hits a draw. Sergio hits a fade. Rory hits a draw. I don't remember what Sam Burns does. Joaquin Niemann hits a fade. Rahm hits a fade. Rose, I think, can hit both directions. Jordan Spieth hits a draw. Jason Day hits a draw. Webb Simpson hits a draw. Shambo hits a draw. Harman hits a draw, but it's on the other side, so he's a lefty that hits a draw. Paul Casey hits a draw. That doesn't, like, this doesn't surprise me. Like, look at how many golfers hit a draw that I just said. Those are all the guys that finish, that have the best, basically the best Pete Dye stats, that finish inside the top 10. It's not a surprise to me. Let's go ahead and look at overall bent grass. That way we're not going to spend too much time looking at all of this. We have two golfers here with just one event under the belt, Bezuidenhout and Perez. I don't know what to make of that. I'm not gonna make much out of that. So you can see it's from this season. But Jon Rahm, best bent grass golfer in the field, 26 events. Dude, he almost won it last year. I think he's coming into this one. I think he's my odds-on favorite to win this tournament. I do like Rory as well. So it's going to be difficult. I'm really just going to spread out ownership for this whole entire tournament. That's just my feelings on it. Hideki is followed up. I guess Spieth might be the best value play when it comes to bent grass. And when you mix everything together, he just might be the best value, period. Hard to trust him. Looks like, something's just not right up here in the head. I'm not positive on that. His 2020 bent grass stats do not look good. So that's also something to take into consideration. But might be decent for value. I kind of like Colin Morikawa. Only one Pete Dye event, 36th. Hasn't missed a cut yet this year. That's pretty good for 7,900. If that's chalk, eat it up. 7,900, good value for Colin Morikawa. Very good bent grass stats. Henrik Stenson missed the cut on his last hole last week, so I'm not sure how to take that. He did definitely look stronger in the second round, so maybe the competitive play, he was a little rusty and got back into it. Don't know. Really don't. But this is a course that I think he can do well at. I really like Fleetwood. And then, yeah, I'm not going to talk about anyone else. And I guess we can look at the top 10 bent grass percentage. Not going to really talk about a lot. Brandt Snedeker kind of pops out. For golfers I haven't talked about yet. Abraham Ancer maybe a little bit. And that's all I'm going to talk about with that. Again, pause it whenever and screenshot if you want. Your 2020 bent grass average finishing position. Some of these guys have only played one event, so that's, you basically bet that these guys have only played one event. But yeah, you can take a look. I'm not going to spend too much time in that. So let's go ahead. Yeah, I'll go ahead and hide all of this now. We're going to go quickly through these stats. I just want to show you, first of all the golfers that don't have stats. Again, we have a lot of our European golfers coming over here that have not played enough PGA events. I think Kelly Craft is out, and so is Jonas Blixt. I think both these guys are not playing in the tournament, but I'm not positive. But I am going to go ahead and remove the blanks, and now we can just talk about guys who actually have stats. So, again, I would pick top 34 tee to green stats. So if I were to scroll down to 34, that would be what, Adam Scott? No. We got rid of some players. So Tom Hoge, Abraham Ancer. So as I scroll up, if you like any of the golfers, obviously write them down. I guess some guys that come out to me are Jim Furyk, Corey Connors. I do like Corey Connors on bent grass. Cam Champ, Adam Hadwin. I do like Adam Hadwin. He shapes the ball both directions. Do like Scotty Scheffler. I don't remember what Harris English does. I think he draws the golf ball. Joel Damon might be a good play. Very good tee to green. Again, I think you can make a core. You can make a lineup of 6 golfers from this group of golfers here, tee to green. Just like last week, I wanted to find 6 golfers inside the top tee to green stats. Obviously, some of these guys you can't pair all together. So like Jon Rahm, Rory could easily finish 1-2. And then you might have to find golfers outside this, top 34 range of tee to green. Because you wouldn't be able to construct lineups of some of them. Because look at the prices, And some of these golfers aren't going to make the cut. The $6,900 guys or 72 or even 75, like they might not make the cut. Off the tee, we thought that was good. I mean, when we looked at the 2019 DK, it was the top 5 golfers that did well. I think it was top 5. Could have been like top 7 or 8 off the tee that looked good. I might just pair them up with tee to green. And when you look at these golfers, that's like no surprise, right? The color coding for these are your top 10% are in the dark green. And then it goes the next 20% is light green. The 20% after that is yellow. The 20% after that's orange. 20% after that's red. And then the last 10% is dark red. So dark red is by far the worst stat. Not true, guys. Not true. I'm sorry. That's not true. It's just 20, 20, 20. So this is your top 20. And then it goes top 20, top 20, top 20. Or, well, next 20, next 20, next 20. And then bottom. So really the bottom would be from position 80 to 145. Just so you guys are aware of that. Looking at approach, we didn't really see much from the 2019. That's not to say we won't see much in the 2020, but again, here are your top approach guys. It's really easy for me to think, go with approach and tee to green. Try to find some golfers that have good values, like Joel Damon, for instance. That might be a good one to go with. Even Mark Leishman at 7,600 and like Colin Morikawa, those might be really good plays, especially when you mix it with Bentgrass and Pete Dye. Definitely look into that kind of stuff. Around the green, again, this one didn't matter, but I'm just showing you guys. So screenshot it, pause it, screenshot it. Putting, again, not one that really mattered, but Louis is overtaking Denny McCarthy. Oh man, Denny had a rough week last week. And now he is suffering not being the top putter anymore, which is kind of sad. Sad panda. Green and reg. Let's look at that. Jim Furyk, Patrick Cantlay. Green and reg also didn't really apply in 2019. Not saying it won't here, but I'm not putting a lot of stock into it. Same with proximity, although I would say proximity with recent form might be good. So Joel Damon might be a good golfer. That does not apply to Jim Furyk because he has not had good recent form. Yeah, you guys can take a look. Birdie or better might be something I'm actually going to look at. Although in 2019 it didn't really appear. Actually, that's not true, right? It was like the top 34. Once you got past the top 20, you saw a bunch more that were inside the top 20. So I guess from what? So Lanto is 36th ranked in the field. Ricky Fowler's 37th. Matt Kuchar's 35th. Phil's 34th. I would actually go to Ricky. And so when we scroll up, take notes of some names. Colin Morikawa's in there like that. Alexander, Brandt Snedeker. I would just say keep your eye out on some of these guys. I did do driving distance. I'm not going to talk about it. I think these are more of stats. I want to see what it looks like at the end of the tournament and review, just to see what it'll look like going into next year. If there was a stat I would consider, it would probably be good drive percentage with tee to green stats. So like Patrick Cantlay, Gary Woodland, Paul Casey, Tyrrell Hatton, Harris English, Justin Thomas, Colin Morikawa, Webb Simpson, and Xander Schauffele. So yeah, notable names, obviously, and you're not really getting a lot of discount. Tyrrell Hatton at 74, maybe. Harris English 72. I'll wait for the bucket system to show me a little bit more information as to which golfers I should use. But that's that. And then how often do these guys make bogey? That might be another prevalent stat. Let me go ahead and put a percentage on that. So there you go. So Webb Simpson makes bogeys at 10.5%. That is your lowest in the field. And that might just be good enough. And Rahm is up there. Same with Rory McIlroy. A lot of good golfers. Russell Knox would be your probably top value play when it comes to bogey avoidance. Followed by Brendan Todd, Carlos Ortiz. Oh, gosh. Bryce Garnett and Russell Henley. Bud Cauley 6,200. All right. There's a lot of interesting golfers with that. So, but yeah, that is the preview. I'm gonna try to put these two videos together. Obviously, it had cut out. I'm surprised it didn't cut out again because around the 20-minute mark is when it cut out last time. But I'm gonna bid adieu before this just goes to crap. So, thank you for watching. Please leave a like, comment, subscribe, all of that good stuff, and I will see you during the lineup construction video, which I hope to have out for you tomorrow. All right, see ya.